any of you missing somebody you're sitting next to? Yes, a couple of them? All right. Well, while we wait for a couple stragglers, anybody want to share what God has done so far this weekend? Something that's brought up in your diet? Oh, don't be shy. Okay, Christina. Something that God's done anytime there's fun. By the way, somebody just, Heather's husband, just sent her a text with a photo. He was dropping his daughter off at gymnastics and came out of the building to find a coupon stuck on all the windows of the cars, and it's a coupon for a Splotna session. Someone's advertising up in Erie Boulder.
Well, I just wanted to mention that I had a really great session earlier, and we had 2 or 3 emotions. We got to the end, and it all resonated. No, I think it was more 4 or 5 emotions. All resonated, all sounded good. Yeah, definitely. Got to the vow and lie. Yeah, it could be this, could be that. I don't know. It kind of sounds right, but. And then she just rephrased something and like welled up, and all this emotion came up, and I was like, 100%. That's what my resolution was for this year. It was like, what my focus and attention has been. I really want to work on this year, and it was perfect. It was amazing.
Yay!
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think we're all back, right? Anybody else missing your table
We're
mate?
missing a few people.
Are we? Well, I can't go on without him. I can't go on. I have to have everyone. Anybody else want to share while we're waiting?
There's really wacky road construction on Havana, so if anyone left, they can't get back, and you have to kind of do some illegal maneuvering.
You do.
I did? Yeah.
Yep.
So think that might be why.
Ah,
Havana is literally blocked to get here to the hotel.
okay. We haven't left the hotel since we got here.
So,
So-
yeah, but hopefully we'll have to.
Okay.
Yeah, I know she.
Apparently you can't get back without being illegal.
It's absolutely true.
Well, anybody else want to share while we're waiting? Anything the Lord's ever done for Splenda doesn't have to be this weekend?
Mine's a little bit more global. When I came into Splotna, it was just a very divine appointment that I met the girl who needed somebody to do her 30 hours, and I was a willing guinea pig. I had fibromyalgia, weighed about 50 pounds more than I do now, recurrent bladder infection, sorry, TMI, but things like that. And since then, which I've learned to stay hydrated during Splenda sessions, we did a lot of work through that, and I have not had to be on antibiotics for that specifically or several other ailments. My fibro is all but gone, and even when I get migraines to this day, instead of a 3-day migraine, it's about a 3 to 4 hour thing. So I've had a lot of, like, not just the emotional impact, which that's a long story, but the physical. So I'm hoping when to move forward that we can clear some things out and I can get pregnant again. So
Praise God.
Comment on the physical part.
Yeah, so along that topic, when somebody comes in and says, so can Splenda help with fibromyalgia or anything physical? The answer is Splenda can help to the degree that it's emotionally rooted. So one person's fibro might be emotionally rooted, another person's might not, and any combination in there in between. The longer I do this, the less and less I see things that don't have at least a little bit of an emotional root, if not entirely.
Right, like I still get migraines, so they are not gone completely, but the emotional root, they do not have the power.
Yeah.
And when I get them, I don't go to that emotional place of guilt and condemnation and all of these things because I'm down and I'm disappointing my husband.
Mm-hmm.
Blah.
Blah.
You know, we
Yeah.
have the migraine, we get over it and we move on with life.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Do you ever pray directly to the
No, never pray directly. What?
So like after your session, your set's done, you cast out the vow, the vow and whatever it's like. Do you ever pray directly to the disease if it did have an impact physically for the person?
Sure.
Okay.
Whatever your frame. If some people would bring that sort of clarity in authority and faith. Some people wouldn't. Yes, if you have that to bring it. absolutely. Sure,
What was
sure.
the question exactly?
Would you ever, if someone came with something physical, and you went to a trauma, cleared a vow or a lie, and didn't see it directly relating to the illness, would you go ahead and pray about the illness anyway? You know, asking that it would let, well, yes, of course, you would. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. You can always, we're always free to pray, right? Anytime, anywhere, any topic.
Can you test if they're associated and go directly to that?
Can you test if they're associated, she said. So, yes, but, okay, so on the one hand, you don't want to say, is this, I'm already out of battery? I'm already out of battery, I'm gonna need a 9-volt again.
There was 2.
I know, I put the other one in the handheld.
All right, we'll take it out.
Okay.
Did I open it?
On the one hand, you don't want to say, are these migraines emotional? Okay, because that's a diagnostic question. And as soon as we step into diagnostic thinking, we're one step out of boundary for what a muscle test is for. A muscle test is not accurate enough, it's not ethical enough for a diagnostic question. So you don't with the muscle test say, so are the migraines, or is the blood pressure, or is the whatever emotional? You aren't going that way. But you do say, we don't know to what degree that physical issue could be emotionally rooted. The Lord does know, your own heart does know. So we're going to bring it as a request, and what he takes us to either will or will not change the physical symptom. We watch and see that. Okay, but we don't diagnose it. It's because it's one step out of heart posture. See, remember, you're only muscle testing the steps given in opening prayer. And a diagnostic question is not ever a step given you in opening prayer.
So you can't muscle test me to find out if I'm pregnant or not?
Not within good emotional boundaries, or spiritual boundaries.
I have to wait.
Yeah. We all bless you with pregnancy. So it's not so much that the information isn't there, you know,
But it's the boundary.
but there's what is and isn't permissible, you know, within good spiritual boundaries. And we're gonna go over that more tomorrow. More what all you do and don't test and why. Okay, I think we're all back, right?
We're still missing a couple,
We
but
are? Are they stuck out on Nevada somewhere?
probably right here.
I think
Christina's here.
on a conference call.
John and Jody.
Yeah, they were gonna do like some sort of call for their practice, I think.
Oh, yeah,
Like-
they're in practice
like,
together.
I was trying not to eavesdrop, but
She didn't try that hard.
Yeah, you didn't try it. I was trying not to, but I heard the whole thing. Just teasing you. Well, I don't think we
They
can
were
wait
gonna
for that.
change their airline
They decided to do a professional thing instead
No,
of
I think they were
being-
changing their airline flights. They're trying to
that.
get out earlier
Oh, is
tomorrow.
that those two?
yeah, these two.
Oh, they're doing
They're in the hotel.
You at this point have the entire class waiting.
No, just go on.
All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and we'll catch them up when they get here. Page 46, blowing circuits. Blowing circuits is when the resistance level is high enough that the muscle testing quits working. So it's when all of a sudden everything turns to no, and you can't get an answer for anything. Or, well, are you in resistance? No. Well, do you need a collarbone statement? No. Do you need resistant emotion? No. Everything goes no. Can we see what you need? No. Okay, so when the system shuts down and Elvis has left the building, you have blown circuits. And usually at that point, circuits are literally blown, meaning polar center won't work. So if you were to touch between the eyebrows, the arm won't go weak. So the energy system, the electrical system actually went offline for a second. Like I said, I'm done playing, okay? When that happens, you have several options. You flip to your page 46 and you say, okay, we need to hang out here and blowing circuits for a minute. These are the different things that you can do and circle through them as different options until you get things back online. You can always, of course, return to prayer. That's a good idea. Always a good idea to go back to the Lord and say, so Lord God, we're blowing circuits, okay? We hit a real sensitive spot of resistance. Would you meet us, please, in that place? So would you come again to that spot in the soul that's freaking out right now, that's putting up all these walls? Would you speak maybe what needs to be heard there, or lay your hand there? Would you pour peace into that place, like any way that you would pray and ask that the Lord would meet that spot in the soul where the strong resistance is occurring. Another thing you can do without the muscle test, you can always do the global acceptance statement. So remember how we said here in your little box of collarbone statements, your first one for admitting is a nice catch-all just to try before you even get into the big resistance deal. Well, your last one is your other special one, which is the I accept myself, the global one. So if your circuits are blown and you can't get the muscle test to work, you can always just by logic, okay, not by the muscle test, by logic go into the collarbone statement about I accept myself completely, exactly like I am, even with the symptom, whatever it is you're working on. And that one will commonly be enough to bring circuits back online. So the way that would work, if it did, I would have Alan say the sentence, he would say it 3 times, I'd come back to the muscle test and I'd say, so can we get back in? And if I get yes we can, then I'm like, okay, your circuits are back online. Now we can say, okay, so for that resistance, it just flipped you out there. Do you need a resistant emotion or a collarbone statement? So then I can get it, then the muscle will tell me, okay, all right, I'll admit I need this or I need that. And then we're back moving again, okay? So these options on page 46 these are the different things you can sort of circle around in. Try this, try this, try this, until you get things back online. Another option is an algorithm. You can drop right into phobia or trauma algorithm without testing for it, having the client think about the shutdown, the resistance, as the symptom. So the client's going through phobia algorithm thinking how my system just shut down and won't play anymore. That's what they're focusing on. Imagining that something deep within is so resistant that it just blew a circuit and freaked out. So what they would tune into is the resistance itself as they go through the phobia algorithm or the trauma algorithm.
I have a question. Is it possible for you to give us a scenario of what going through that would look like? Like what we're supposed to be saying as we're focusing in on something? Like that particular drama. If you say be in that what is that?
What would the client be tuning into?
Yeah.
The client would just be imagining, so I'm doing my phobia points, and I'm thinking to myself, man, my heart is so freaked out right now that it just shut down all my circuits, and I can't even continue to work. So something in me is really scared or really overwhelmed. So I'm just thinking, feeling, I'm in touch with that idea while I'm going through the points. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, like that. Mm-hmm. That might be the thing that gets circuits back online. A special note here, number 5. It's important to know that the resistance could be on your side, not on theirs.
Yeah.
So, because you will have trouble, you'll get triggered, you aren't objective, nobody is. So you'll mess with the process sometimes too. Especially, of course, logically, how much closer a person's issues are to your own. So if someone comes in to work on something that's real close to home to you, you're like, oh, I relate to that, I got that same thing, it's never been healed in me, right? Well, my objectivity level is slightly lower. I'm going to be more likely to be triggered. I'm going to be more likely to have blind spots. I'm going to be more likely to my own resistance to rise up, okay? One of the things listed as your ideas for opening prayer on your setup prayer page, one of the ideas that we list there is that you would ask in opening prayer, you heard me do it with Liz, you would ask that your own stuff would be kept aside. That God, I like to see like literally like his hand on my brokenness, just holding it at bay, you know? Now, most of the time, God will do that. It's not hard for him. It's not hard for him to keep your triggers at the side and have you not interrupt session with your own stuff. It's so not hard for him that when he decides to allow you to block session, it's important. It matters a lot. So if you block session, meaning Mindy and I are going along and we get some resistance, we can't see what our next emotion is. And I would check to see, maybe we've had a lot of trouble in resistance, so I would think, I wonder if I'm contributing to this. So I'm going to borrow your arm for a second. With your muscle, I'm going to ask my own subconscious about my resistance. This is surrogate work, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So I'm going to use her muscle and I'm going to say, so my subconscious, any of this resistance on my side? And if I get yes, it is, then I'll say, so I'm getting triggered. Something on my side is getting a little resistant too. And the more defensive and freaked out you are about that, the more prickly your client is. If you're real relaxed about that, like, yeah, we're all people, we do this, then your client is sort of relieved that you got stuff too, and that's sort of nice, you know?
Yeah.
And we all feel in community together. So I'll say, yeah, my resistance is popping up, so let me check mine for a second. Do I need a resistant emotion, a collarbone statement about safety, functioning content? So I'm okay with the content in Mindy's heart, no matter how it impacts me. I'm okay with the content in Mindy's heart, no matter how it impacts me. I'm okay with the content in Mindy's heart, no matter how it impacts me. So am I good to go? Okay, so I'm back in. So the resistance could be on my side just as much as it could be on her side. Now I will stop in session, and this is what I encourage you to do. I will do a single collarbone statement or a single resistant emotion to clear my side of things. And if that doesn't get it done, if I'm still in the way, that is God saying, pay attention. That's God saying, it was more important to me that you see your block than that session went smoothly. Okay? He's saying, knock, 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 look at this issue. So if one collarbone statement or one resistant emotion doesn't clear me to go back into the work, then I'm going to say, gotcha. And I'm going to pull out my little notepad and I'm going to write, I'm blocking blah, blah, blah content. Whatever it is we're working on. Maybe we're working on sibling stuff. Maybe we're working on competence issues in school or work. Whatever it is we're working on, I'm going to say, I'm blocking blah, blah, blah. I'm going to pull off my sticky note, stick it on the side of my chair, and I commit between the Lord and I will deal with that on our time, okay? Because I can't say, so Mindy, I'm blocking, we're going to do a set on me now. And that'll be $150, okay? But the Lord is saying, pay attention. So I'll write a note, I'll commit to He and I will get to that, and He'll release me, and I don't block session anymore. But I do need to go home that night and do my homework. So when I get home that night, I get home and say, so babe, I blocked a session today, I gotta borrow your arm tonight. So we'll sit down at the couch, and my husband will be with me there in opening prayer, and then I borrow his arm to work on me, and he can watch Battlestar Galactica. And I'll work on me the same way I would work on you, just borrowing his arm. That's surrogate work, that's how you work on you. So as long as you have physical contact, you make a circuit, and as long as you have clarity between you about who's client and who's practitioner, right? As long as her heart knows I'm not asking her the question, I'm asking me the question, her muscle will respond for my energetic shifts. So that's how you work on you. It's how you work on a surrogate. So like, it's how you work on a child who can't give you a strong arm. Or how, like if I wanted to work on my mother who has, her shoulders aren't strong, she can't hold an arm up, I would borrow my sister's arm. As long as my sister's in contact with my mother physically, and all three of us are clear about who I'm asking, that I'm asking mom and not sister, then the work is just the same. So the sister is just a muscle that I'm borrowing to have the energetic reaction have a place to show up.
Do you have to sit any, like, right now you have us at the 90-degree angle?
I still want, with the surrogate arm, so if I'm using my sister's arm to test my mom, I still want my sister's arm at a 90-degree angle and a locked elbow. But my intention is headed at my mom when I'm asking the questions, not at my sister. It's also how you work on baby in the womb. So if you're going to work on baby in the womb, if Mindy was pregnant, I would use Mindy's arm, but I would send my intention at baby. Are you feeling this, that, the other?
Are you going to be doing more on this later?
A little bit.
So, let's say you're working on your mom through your sister. It doesn't matter where your sister's touching your mom?
No, any touch. Yeah. So if Mindy brought in 18-month-old Alan into session, because come on up, Mindy and Alan. We'll go ahead and do surrogacy. So Mindy brings in Alan into session. He's 18 months old and he's still colicky. So Mindy wants to pull her face off. She comes in to say, can you help the colicky baby? He still won't see through it. So I will explain to her that Splunk can help to the degree that it's emotionally rooted for him. Okay? His colic stuff might be emotionally rooted, it might not be. Only the Lord and his heart know that. And so we're going to bring the request before the Lord. Now once we've done opening prayer, Mom and I are inviting God to search through Alan's database. He has one, he's just only 18 months old. So God will search through that database, and when we come out of session, I just need them touching in any way. So Alan could be sitting on Mom's lap, he could be playing on the floor and Mom's touching the back. They could be sitting next to each other. Any touch is fine, as long as you make a physical circuit. So once they're touching, I can use Mom's arm here, but my intention is going at Alan. So I'm saying, so Alan, this, that, or the other. Okay? So Mom is literally just a muscle to respond for his energetic shifts because he can't use his own muscle.
And they don't have to be related?
No, they
It'd
don't
be
have to be
anybody.
related. Now, when it's time to do touch and thought, okay? Alan, obviously, he can't do, I can't say think angry, right? He's 18 months old. So we have to borrow, we have to lend intention. So mom or me will touch his little points for him. So I'm getting his points, not mom's for him or mine for him, his points, okay? We're
Someone
using,
have to be very creative how you do that because they wiggle.
they wiggle like crazy, yes they do. And when they're, by the way, when they're right around 2, they will freak out like you are pulling their limbs off. And I don't really know why. When an 18-month-old will just chill while you do this, and a 4-year-old will chill. But right around 2, they will act like you are pulling their limbs off. It's the weirdest thing. It's true. So as soon as you go to do intention, they will freak out. So if you're working on a 2-year-old, don't think you're doing something wrong, okay? It's just a developmental stage for them. So we're going to borrow, we're going to lend touch, or we're going to lend intention. So either I will touch his points or mom will touch his points. And I will think for him, Alan angry at dad, or Alan's fearful about this, or Alan's grieving such and such. I will lend intention and touch. And that, believe it or not, will get the job done. What you cannot do is, you can't do proxy. Proxy is stand-in work. So you can't say, let's heal Alan's anger on mom's liver point. That's out of boundaries. Okay? We can't heal Alan's anger on my liver point. That's out of boundaries. So any stand-in proxy work is out of boundaries. Any work at a distance is out of boundaries. So if I have mom in session and baby's at home, and she says, well, my subconscious knows his emotions, so can we just test his emotions and clear them on me? No, we cannot. Okay, no distance work. And distance work falls into one of those camps of there are things that are possible and not permissible. And that's one of them. Remote testing and remote clearing can be possible and is not permissible because the lack of touch allows in the demonic in just too easy a way. Touch has an authority to it that's built in by God, and we need to stay within that limit and honor it. Yes.
So would you call this remote then?
It depends on who you're testing.
Like
If I'm doing
We're-
this
we're
and I'm testing
touching-
you over there,
I'm touching her and.
then that's not remote work.
Is that surrogate then? 'Cause
Yes,
my
it's surrogate
muscle-
work, yes, but it's not remote work.
Okay.
Uh-huh. So,
Like if I didn't have somebody else's arm.
yeah.
used, 'cause-
So she says if I know this way of testing, right, if it holds or if it goes loose, if I used this while touching the person, like I'm testing you and I'm using that muscle, that's within boundaries, that's okay. Testing him this way across the room, just my intention at him, is not okay.
It's not.
Okay.
You have to touch me.
I need to be touching you, yeah, not across the room.
Doesn't
Even
need
if
to
the
be
information
scanned.
is there in the quantum field, it's not permissible to access it outside of touch.
Does it need to be skin touching, or can it be through clothes?
No, fabric is fine.
It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
okay.
Touch, doesn't have to be skin. You can keep your clothes on. Yes. Your clients can keep their clothes on. So watch this, this is for fun. This will freak people out sometimes. I'm gonna ask Alan his gender, but I'm gonna ask him with a girly arm, right? So she's a girl, but he's a boy. And so when I send my intention at Alan and I say, are you male? I get weak arm yes. Even though her girl arm says, wait, what? It's because it's his system I'm asking. And so the muscle knows, the muscle is responding to the intention of who I'm asking. So that's how surrogacy works. It's how you work with children. It's how you work with yourself. It's how you work with anybody who can't give you an arm.
So when you're asking, you're focusing on him,
He's who I'm asking.
and that's what you're doing even though you're using
Yep.
the other.
She's just a muscle for me. I'm not sending any intention at her. I don't even need her conscious engagement in what's going on. She could be over here reading the newspaper and just sticking an arm out for me, and we'd be fine. As long as she's touching him.
And what if he was asleep? Let's say he's 18 months.
Yeah, if he's asleep, there's no difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, why, because you're obviously the only one touching the baby as a mother, but why would you go and do a splankment on a child that's in the womb?
Okay, go ahead and have a seat.
What would give you that
A reason
to do that?
Go ahead and have a seat.
Oh, can I have a sucker now?
A sucker?
Yeah,
Oh,
kids get a sucker.
He wants a sucker. Oh my
Well, I'd say if Mindy I'm gonna take out the ice cream afterwards. I didn't say that.
Maybe. Okay.
I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
So those of us who are in Old Miss Swanson within 1,000-mile radius,
Yeah.
that's how we can then take care of our.
Yes, that's how you work on you. You have anybody who will give you an hour, okay? So a friend or a spouse or, you know, your sister, anybody who will sit with you and let you borrow their arm. Sure, you totally will. It's okay. You're never objective, okay? There's no such thing as objectivity. Objectivity is in direct relationship to value. The more important a person is to you, the less your objectivity.
Yeah.
People think it's about closeness, like how close you are to someone. It's not about close, it's about value. I can be very, very close to someone I don't value very much, and my objectivity is a little higher with them. It's how important someone is that makes my objectivity lower. And so the more important a person is, the lower your objectivity. But don't think that it's black and white, like I'm objective in one hand and not in another. You're never objective. You're always seeing everything through the lens of all your biases. Okay? So objectivity being higher or lower, yes, is true, but don't make it a big black and white like you're useful or you're not.
Would you ever do like a set on the mom, just for her, like if her baby's colicky and she wants to peel, did you say her face off?
Yeah.
You know?
Sure. Yeah. If mom needs some help with her own emotional distress, yeah. Sure, of course. On the baby in the womb. So if we're working on baby in the womb, when it's time, that's your only loophole to the proxy thing, right? Because I can't get to baby's points. So mom will put the hands on the belly, and she will think, in her mind's eye, she will think baby's liver point. Okay? She'll think baby's liver point, baby's anger. That's how we'll do that. When we need to do the forgiveness, if I had Alan at their 18-month-old, when it was forgiveness time, I would take his little hand and I would place it on my hand, and I would tap his little pinky, and I'd say, Alan forgives mom for, or Alan forgives God for, or Alan forgives himself for, here at the index. Whatever we're doing, I would say it for him, and I would tap it inside of his little hand. Okay? That's how that would go. You can do algorithms on little ones, so you can just lay them down and just tap down their little points. So you tap down their points while you're thinking their emotion, lending the intention of emotion. And when you get to the bilateral point, a baby can't track your fingers, right? So when you get to bilateral, the mom would have triple warmer, and you would tap on the bottom of the feet. The younger they are, the more they like the bottom of the feet, the reflexology points. So bottom of the feet, you tap back and forth while the mom does the triple warmer. And while both mom and you are lending intention for baby's emotional issues.
You have them take their shoes off first.
Shoes off first is better when you're little, yeah. But it's not useless without it. Not a hard rule.
So how about lies and vows with
Lies and vows is about intercessory prayer. So when it's time to break Alan's lie, I will walk mom through that, or I'll pray it and she'll be in agreement with me that, Lord God, we confess on Alan's behalf that he seemed to agree with this lie that, or it looks like he made a vow of that. And on his behalf, we repent. And then on his behalf, we revoke agreement with it, pull it out, send it to the abyss. So it's intercessory breaking agreement with that. And when he's little like that, mom has natural and spiritual authority to do something like that. Especially when his emotional junk's out of the way that started it up. So you do it like that. Now when that shifts, so when is a child too old to pray on their behalf sort of thing? That is not a super hard line. The hardest line we have would be 12 in our biblical and historical examples. So if I was working on a 14-year-old, I wouldn't think there's anyone else who could break that 14-year-old's agreement but him. I don't think mom can do that for him. And there's an important transition right around 8 in the brain. There's a big shift in brain development right around 8 years old, that children become for the first time able to see parents as broken figures. Before 8, parents are God figures. And so that transition's a big deal too. So I would say especially before 8, a parent has good authority to break an agreement on behalf of a child. And between 8 and 12, I think it's iffy. it's a gray area depending on the kid, and I think 12 and above is out of boundaries. 12 and above, a kid needs to break their own, yes.
In saying that, I work with a lot of Alzheimer's dementia patients, and could the spouse be a surrogate for them?
Yes,
Because it's difficult, obviously, to know.
yes, for sure, yes. You'd have similar things like with Down syndrome or with developmental disabilities of different kinds, where when a person can't do their own intention, okay, for whatever reason, even if it's not because you're an infant, if you're an adult and can't do your own intention, surrogate attention is still vital. Yeah. Mhm.
Could the Alzheimer's patient or somebody who has some severe disability, could they be asleep so that if they were a person who was like, my grandmother got very aggressive, so I think she would have hit at somebody trying to like tap, could she have been asleep with my mom being a surrogate?
So this is a really common question. What about working on somebody who, while they're asleep? So there's a case-by-case sort of ethical question in play with that, because on the one hand, I would have no qualm whatsoever about working on my 4-month-old while he or she is sleeping. But that example, my grandmother who has Alzheimer's, and if I worked on her when she's awake, she might get real violent or agitated, okay? If I'm working with somebody who is naturally in their own authority, somebody over 8, I wouldn't even work on them past toddlerhood when they're asleep without permission. Meaning when they're awake, I would say, how do you feel about me working on this or that while you were sleeping? But there's really no reason to do that unless you have a special circumstance. I would never do it for convenience past infancy, you know? So if my 5-year-old was throwing fits, I would not work on them while they're asleep just because it's easier. I think that's an ethical gray area, you know?
Can I interject something?
But with permission, like with with your grandma, I would ask her when she's waking for some form of permission. She would be all right with that, you know? Would you be okay while you're sleeping if I pray over you, if I help some of your feelings, you know? That kind of thing.
Because my grandmother was really good about prayer, but she didn't want anyone touching her, so I was just thinking how useful this could have been.
Well, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, we do get to choose whether we get helped or not.
Yep.
You know?
But you can always diffuse that by touching the forehead.
You can diffuse what by touching the forehead?
Any kind of anger or antagonistic behavior with everyone, including the autistic children and all of them. I do it all the time.
You did that? You use a thumb?
I touch them all the time, here or whatever I can touch them with.
Try a ring finger. I'll bet you get better result.
I probably do, but it works 90% of the time.
Touching the polar center helps to calm.
It calms them down enough that you can actually.
Interesting. I hadn't heard that. Okay. But the permission thing is an ethical issue. I mean, you're going to have to take it ethics. The permission and sleeping thing is a case-by-case ethics issue. I can't really give you a hard line. Yeah.
So I work with a lot of people that are deaf and blind, just in my everyday work. And so with deaf people, since verbalization is important, how do you do that? Can they sign it while you're touching their points?
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
They can sign it, they can touch the points, and well, the only thing they need to say is during the collarbone statements or the forgiveness, right? So they could sign and then tap, they could tap and then sign. They could have somebody else tapping, well, but they have to use the hands.
You can sign with one hand in circumstances. We've been
There's
with
that
them too
too,
many.
yeah. I've never really thought about that, about deaf.
Well,
That's
'cause
interesting.
You could like finger spell it too then,
Yeah, you
even
could
if you
finger-
did
yeah.
not. I mean, all deaf people can finger spell very
But
clearly.
obviously,
quickly.
saying that your average person needs to speak it and not just think it, that's a different category than because you're deaf and you can't speak it. It's not like, therefore, you're not going to get any good work done.
Right, I'm just, I mean, their language is, can
Yeah.
sign, right?
Mhm.
Some of them can speak a little bit, or wasted words, but not a lot of them.
But even for them, it wouldn't seem like, even if they can speak a word, that wouldn't be constitutive for them because they can't hear it. And it's not meaningful the way it is it's not meaningful like it is for them to sign the word.
Right.
That's much more meaningful. So in that case, I wouldn't say that the speaking is important.
And then blind people, you would just have them tap their foot at the end, right?
Yeah.
Because they can't follow.
Yeah. Just the right and left tapping the feet, yeah.
Do deaf folks come up with their own shorthand, their own signs?
Yeah.
So Mike, do you suggest that they would come up with I forgive, you know, and just, I guess I'm forgiving her, but maybe a shorthand for, that they could do one-handed and that you could read aloud to them?
Yeah, you can. It'd be really hard if you're working with multiple clients because every client is different. And
Sure,
some do ESL, ASL.
Yeah.
And then there's a global, there's now another global one.
Another
So
one.
it's really hard to, you know, that's a lot of, it'd be like speaking Spanish, Italian, and German all in one session. You know, it's too difficult.
That's an interesting scenario. Never really thought that.
Like, what if they wrote it? Because most of them know how to write or read. So, like, when they're communicating, like on, like, I mean, text all the time, because that's how they can communicate with the hearing world. And
Whichever kind of mode would carry the most meaning.
Because
for
they
them.
wouldn't have to hear like red, blue, yellow.
Right. No, that's important. No.
We're putting that into.
You know, in fact, not only would they not have to hear it, but this whole protocol can be done without speaking it out loud.
That's right.
I can run you through the whole protocol and only say out loud when I need you to think the thing. You know, all the questioning can be done silently and it's no different. You know, in a first session, I don't start right out when I meet a person testing silently because that's not very honoring. That's relationally, that's weird, you know? That's strangely voyeuristic, right? To have somebody you don't know come in and say, now I'm gonna test your subconscious without you knowing what I'm talking about. You know, like that's just weird. So in a first session, I'd always speak out loud everything that I'm asking. When relationship and rapport are built, then I'll usually go silently only because it's quite a bit faster. So with somebody who's deaf, yes, they don't need to hear red, blue, yellow, green. Neither does anybody else, by the way. Okay, so 5 minutes page. We gotta keep moving. On emotional overload. Okay, now by overload, I don't mean what you saw here earlier where Liz had some feelings and there were some tears. I mean like the person is unable to continue, like can't compose themselves. So if someone was hyperventilating, or if they were flying into a violent rage, or if they were sobbing uncontrollably, can't compose themselves. What you do in a moment like that is, without testing for it, you immediately drop right into trauma algorithm. The reason for that is because the algorithms are particularly good at very quick calm down of hyperarousal, let's say in psych, or getting over emotional. So the algorithm is really great at the super fast calm down. Algorithms are wonderful for first response and critical incident and actual moments of acute trauma. So like if you drove up on a car accident and you came over to the person who was on the side of the road, you wouldn't say, give me your arm. You'd say,